Hello everyone, welcome to Riders Corner. I'm Ryan and this is another episode of Modernizing Your Used Motorbike, or MYUM for short. We're going to be working on this bike and we're going to be transforming it into a new bike, which is part of a series where you guys can follow along and transform your bike into a modern bike. We're going to be doing mods specifically making your bike more comfortable, more modern, and just following some of what the big brands are doing at the minute. A number plate and indicators can look absolutely shocking, especially with the old 90s Japanese big orange things, just look absolutely horrible. So if you want to follow along with this, I'm going to show you all the mistakes that I made the first time that I did this mod and how to avoid all of them. So make sure you stick around. Now for those of you that are new here, we're actually doing a series where we're going to be turning our used bikes into a modern day counterpart. So stuff like this rear seat that we've done and stuff like this episode, it's going to be part of an ongoing series where you can follow along and on a budget, turn your bike into what it should look like if it was brand new today. Today we're going to be focusing on the back end, this section right here. Now yours might look a bit different to this, but this is going to be pretty universal really. The indicators that came standard on this bike were the huge orange ones that just looked absolutely terrible. So I replaced them with these, and one's broken, one's lost the bulb, and the front ones are worse as well, they're mismatched. The number plate that I've got here is warped, wonky, one-sided, and it's got mystery holes in it, so that needs replacing. We have also got a little bit of corrosion up there, so I'm going to show you how to fix that. We're also going to be talking about the legal side of this, as to what's legal, what isn't, what you can get away with, and what you need to change before an MOT. I'm going to be talking you through how to do the wiring and cutting and crimping, so if you're worried about that, don't be. We're going to be talking through it, and I'm sure after watching this video you'll be a lot more confident with electronics. So just to make sure that you know what you're doing is perfectly legal and it's going to pass the MOT, when you fit the indicators you need to make sure that you're fitting them in the same position as they were as factory fitted. So I actually fitted a pair of integrated indicators into the brake lights. It was a full system that I got off of Amazon, which looked fantastic because it's blacked out as well, but that's illegal. Even with the indicators fitted and the integrated turn signals, it failed the MOT. So I disconnected the indicator side of the brake light and they were happy and passed it. If you're fitting LED turn signals, you might end up with a faster flash rate, and as long as it's between 60 and 120 flashes per minute, you're fine. That is the range that you have to be between. They have to be orange and flash on and off. No dimming or anything like that. I think the biggest area of concern is probably the actual idiot light at the front. Make sure that the green light is flashing on and off and it's not like mine is at the minute, like you might have seen on the motovlog, flashing between on and dim. That's probably because of the bulbs missing and the front left one's broke anyway, so it's probably because of that. So you're going to be making sure that you fit your indicators in the same place, they flash normally and they flash at a reasonable speed. Onto the number plate. It can be 3D like this. This is an aftermarket plate. It can be the ones with the big blocky letters, that's fine as well. 3D print does actually work on the AMPR system. You can't, however, have a flat plate that imitates a 3D plate, so it's got like the background shading, because that doesn't get picked up. You can't have any background colours and it needs to be in the same format. Oh, and size is an issue as well. Don't go anything small like the ones I've had in the past. I've had one that was about the size of a playing card and I never got picked up for it, but I would always switch to this for the MOT. So what does this do? You need to have a reflector on your bike somewhere on the center point, and that is it. These cost about £1, and it doesn't matter if you just want to put it on for the MOT. I have stuck this on just for the MOTs before and I never got picked up for it by the police, but I think it might be one of the things that if you have been stopped over for speeding and they do a walk around of your bike and then you're starting to miss reflectors, they're probably going to start looking a bit more in depth into your bike. They are a quid, they don't look too bad, so it may be a personal choice to you whether you want to follow the law to the T, but for an MOT you are going to have it fitted, so you probably should fit one throughout the year as well. So I think that's everything for now. If you can think of any more things that you might fail on an MOT, please let me know and I'll put it in the next episode. So we're going to start dismantling this. I'm going to show you how to spray up the bracket and cover up any rust. I'm going to show you how to fit the new indicators and wire them up. And I'm also going to give you the tips and tricks to make sure that your number plate doesn't look like mine does. Make sure you disconnect or take off the indicators before you take off the plate if you've got the same sort of tail tidy kit as I do. So we're just going to prep this with a wire brush, maybe some sandpaper if that doesn't do it, and we're going to spray this up with some hammerite. I use smooth black, which comes up quite nice, and you can spray it straight on rust and it comes up really nice afterwards. This bracket looks like it needs a coat of paint too, so we're going to take the indicators and the number plate off before we start, and we're going to give this a coat of paint before we fit the new number plate and indicators on as well. So I'm not happy, this plate is definitely warped and bent, so we're going to straighten this up in the vise. Right, that is nice and flat now, so we're going to spray this up. Okay, so now that we've painted that and that's all dry, I'm going to show you how to fit these nice and straight so you don't have the same issues as I've had before, and then we're going to fit it on the bike. So before we actually start fitting this, we're just going to mock this up for a test run just to make sure that we get the number plate in the right position. Obviously, like I said last time, the number plate was one-sided. Taking a little bit of time here can prevent that. So we're going to put these turn signals on first, just loosely for now. Then we're going to turn that upside down. find where we're going to be bolting through. So the biggest area of concern is just to make sure that these turn signals are even either side, because that's what you'll be able to tell quite easily when it's on the bike. So with this part, we can bolt through anywhere that there's a slot or a hole, and if you go through the letters, obviously you can paint the bolt black, which looks really smart and a bit more stealthy, whereas if you go where it's yellow, you're obviously going to see the bolt head, so you need to factor that in when you're marking out. Okay, so we can actually now just offer this up to the bike and make sure that we're happy with where the location is going to drop, that you're not going to run into the light. The number plate will actually sit flat on there, so that's an important step. Just make sure that everything lines up and you're happy with it before we start drilling the holes. So now we know where the holes are going to go, we're going to put this on the bench, mark it out and then drill it. Okay, so that's where we can bolt through. We've got a lot of choice here. So we can now decide whether we want to go through the lettering or through the yellow. But it looks like here we are actually going to have to go through the yellow for this mounting bracket, and I really like this because of when that goes on here, we're going to bring it down on the other side and having a sandwich, which I'm hoping adds a little bit of extra strength for the number plate and prevents it from bouncing around and wobbling, which is obviously a bit more of an issue on this bike, being it's a V-twin. Kind of bounces around a little bit, which I've never been happy with, so hopefully by adding a couple extra bolts in top and bottom, this ends up being a lot stronger and a lot more stable. Okay, so I've put a piece of wood in behind just so that you don't blow out the other side when you're drilling. I'm starting off with a small drill bit, which will help keep the bigger size on track. Now we're going to go for the bigger size. This is 5mm because I'm going to use M5 bolts. So the last thing we're going to do before we fit this number plate is we're going to crimp these connections on. Okay, so if you haven't crimped before, it may be a little bit daunting, but honestly it's not too difficult. I'm going to talk you through everything that you need to know, and we're going to be practicing on this old indicator. So I'm going to cut this off. We're going to be crimping this wire to this wire. So you need a crimp set. You can use a connector piece like this, or you can use a male and female crimp like these. And I prefer to use this just because it becomes a little bit more serviceable if you need to take them off later. We're going to start by taking off the insulation. You need to take off about 10mm. If you're not sure, you want the cable to be poking through the end here, so you can see you need about that much, which is about 10mm. So I'm going to pull this insulation off. You can use a Stanley knife or wire strippers if you got them, but for me, I like using snips. So the female end always goes on the supply side, so that's going to go on there, and the male end is always going to go on the load side, so this is where you're going to be crimping onto your indicator, like that. And you want the bare copper wire to be touching the stuff at the end, so you know that it's all the way through. Grab your crimps. You've got 3 different sizes, these are colour coded, so if you're using red crimps you can use the red portion of the crimp. Now you choose your size depending on the cable size, so for us at the minute, because this is very small cable, we're going to be using red. We're going to get that, put it in the red crimp, and we're going to orientate it so it's straight, make sure it's pushed all the way in, and then like that. And then we're going to pull it. Oh, Oh no. Try again. All the way in. Really squeeze it. And then pull it. Okay, that one's on nice and tight. So we're going to try this one again. So we're going to put the female on. Put it in flush, make sure it's nice and straight. Crimp it down tight. And then pull it. Make sure there's no copper exposed apart from in your window there. And then you're going to put them in like this, so they're orientated the same way. To make sure that they're all the way home. And there you go, that's a nice crimp, and that shouldn't pull out. If you want, you can tape over that or use heat shrink. So the last thing we're going to do before we fit this number plate is we're going to crimp these connections. And don't forget to tug test them as well. So like I said, we're going to hang this on here like that. And then use this as like a backup plate. You can use a washer and then a nut on the back. Super important that you don't over tighten any of these because it will actually warp the plate. So you can actually rivet these on, or maybe your number plate, if it's using a plastic one, you might be able to get the plastic caps that will do a nice job covering it. You may even be able to get away with using double-sided sticky tape. I know that there's special number plate sticky tapes, for, mainly for cars really, but I'm sure it'll work on this. Okay, so I'm super happy with that. We're now just going to tighten up the indicators, so we're just going to get that nice and straight. Get behind the bike and actually just double check that you're happy with how the indicators are lining up before you start tightening them. Okay, I'm super chuffed with this. This is actually much better than how it was. That's a huge improvement. It looks a lot newer. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out. So now we're going to move on to the wiring. Okay, so I'm passing these cables up through the holes that the original wires are passed through, and I'm just going to connect these up to the wires that we disconnected the original indicators from. If you're not too sure about the orientation, obviously I've got black and grey, and then here I've got black with a white stripe and green. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. Put them on, and if it doesn't work, swap it. If you want to get a voltmeter out and test it, you know, go you, but trial and error works too. So, left indicator on, right indicator on. Yeah, first try. Hazard. Cool. Get through that. That was nice and easy. So, we're going to put the seat back on, tackle the front end, which is very similar, but there are a couple extra steps you might have to take depending on your bike. So to get aftermarket indicators for your bike, you're probably going to need to get the same adapter plate as I've got. So this just turns it from my bike's odd shape into an 8mm diameter hole, which is the size of the thread for your indicators. So we're just going to take this out and then we're going to put the new indicators in, crimp them, put them in, connect them, and then test them, just the same as we've done on the back end. So this is the old indicator setup I did have. This is a backing plate, this is the adapter plate, and this is the old indicator. So this is obviously designed to fit in here, and then that is going to go in the hole. And then we're going to tighten that bracket on the other side. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, this bit is definitely going to be the hardest bit that you're going to have to do, connecting it. It does actually look great already, but you know, we've got to have it actually working. Got ya. Okay guys, so I'm super happy with how this has turned out. I'm super chuffed with how the bike's looking. It's looking fresh and new, which is exactly what we're looking for in this channel. I did actually notice that the light isn't turning on during testing, which is quite frustrating, but that's something for the next episode. As well as that guys, I'm going to be showing you how to fit a new windscreen, which is a really easy way to modernise your motorcycle, and then we're going to be moving on to installing some integrated turn signals into these mirrors, and that'll make this look absolutely fantastic guys. Just make sure you hit the like and subscribe button to make sure you don't miss that video. So please tell me what you think about this video in the comment section. Hope that you liked it, and I hope that you learned something today as well. I'm more than happy to do more content like this, so please let me know what you think. Also, remember to send me pictures of your bikes and your projects. You can send that to me at @RidersCornerUK, either on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll be happy to talk to you guys. So until then, Brian's out. I really hope that you enjoyed that video. I know it's a bit of a long one, especially on indicators, but I think I'm getting better at the editing. Let me know what you guys think, and also let me know what you guys want to see. Make sure to subscribe, like, and follow me on my Instagram, which is @RidersCornerUK.